Only the best kind of books are about cheese. Hello y'all, welcome back to Case Could Probably Read. My name is Casey and these are someone's books. They're my books. I own them, these are my books. It's time to do my March reading wrap up. This is the first time in several months that I've decided to attempt this without making a script beforehand because I thought to myself, I've got 3 hours to waste mumbling my way through a wrap up video. It's about to be a bunch of nonsense. I read 6 books this month. The oldest one was published in 1985. The newest one was published in March of 2022. And I'm just gonna jump into it. Usually in my wrap-up videos, I tend to present the books in the order that I read them throughout the month. I'm going to try something different today. I'm going to start with some middle grade and young adult fiction, the first of which is Dead Voices by Katherine Arden. Katherine Arden is also the author of the Winter Night trilogy, which is a lot of fun. But this is a middle grade kind of thriller or horror series that she has written. The first in the series was called Small Spaces. It follows 3 middle school students on a field trip where they get stranded in the middle of some woods and there's being chased by creepy scarecrows and they form an unlikely friendship. Dead Voices follows them into another story where they're staying at a ski chalet and they start seeing ghostly things and people who've frozen to death. And it's just a really good time. I think they're really fun books. Definitely Small Spaces is still my favorite of the series, but Dead Voices is really fun. It actually followed different friends in each book. In the first one, it followed a girl named Ollie. And in the second one, it followed a girl named Coco. She was more of the heroine of the story. So it is a little creepy. I think if I were younger, it would have really given me the shivers. So yeah, there's that one. I rated Dead Voices 3.5 stars. All right, so continuing with another thriller, a young adult thriller, we're going to talk about A Deadly Game of Magic by Joan Lowery Nixon. This one was published in 1985, and I remember reading it when I was in 4th or 5th grade because it was in my school library, and at the time it really freaked me out. Reading it as an adult though, it is definitely not scary in the same way, which I guess you would expect. It was way more laughable. It was more of an amusing story. So what happens here is you have 4 teenagers who are traveling home from a speech and drama competition. And while they're driving their way through Texas, because for some reason they're driving themselves instead of taking the bus, they get caught in a thunderstorm, their car breaks down, and they have to seek shelter from a house along the road. Right when they get in there is a couple that is acting very strangely, and they quickly get out of the house and leave the kids there. And strange things begin to happen in the house while they're there. The phones go dead, and then they find out that this house belongs to a woman who used to be married to a magician. And so he's got all of his equipment in this house, and it keeps doing strange things. They're actually trapped in the house with this magician who was once thought dead and is now tormenting them with his close-up magic tricks. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing so hard. He's tormenting them with his close-up magic tricks. I'm sorry. That's just not a sentence that I was expecting to have to say today. Okay. One of these teenagers that gets stranded in the house, her name is Lisa, and wouldn't you know it, she has wanted to be a close-up magician all her life, and her parents just won't let her. But she saves the day because she knows how the tricks work. So yeah, that's a book. Reading it as a kid and reading it as an adult is definitely not the same experience. I rated this book 2 stars. If you're a connoisseur of performance magic, I am not meaning to insult you. It really just kind of hit my funny bone. You should read the book to understand why this is so humorous, I guess. Oh, it's a short read. It's not great, but might make you laugh. Okay, so the next young adult book that I read this month is The Duff by Kody Keplinger. I don't think you're supposed to do this, or maybe you can do whatever you want, but this is how I did it, and I don't know that it was a great thing to do, but I watched the movie before I read the book, and vastly different experiences between the book and the movie. They're almost different stories. So I had expectations and they were not met when I went into this book. So just being clear from the get-go. You have this high school junior named Bianca Piper. One night she's out dancing with her friends and the high school hot guy comes up to her and asks her to put in a good word with her friends for him. She says no. And then he calls her the Duff, which apparently stands for Designated Ugly Fat Friend. And he explains to her that all friend groups have this one friend that is a Duff. And because they're less attractive or chubbier or less cool or whatever, they make the other friends in the friend group look better. She punches him or throws a drink in his face or something. I can't remember. Bianca's got a lot of stuff going on in her life. Her parents' marriage is kind of on the rocks and she's having some other issues. In order to distract herself, she ends up falling into Wesley's arms. It begins with a kiss and then they end up sleeping together. And then she ends up somewhere in all of this trouble that she's in catching feelings for him. And it is essentially a high school romance. It was not great. Bianca Piper was not that likable. Does kind of send out the message that negging girls is an effective way to get them to sleep with you. That's the biggest take that I have from the book. I rated it 2.5 stars. Okay, now on to my grown-up books. And we're going to start with For the Wolf by Hannah Whitten. This was my least favorite of my grown-up books that I read this month. I thought it was going to be a Red Riding Hood retelling, but I guess it's actually closer to Beauty and the Beast. What we've got here is a fantasy kingdom called Valeda. There's a royal family here. Usually, I guess only one child or one daughter is born to this, but every so often there will be a second daughter born to this royal family. And when that happens, they take that second daughter and they offer her to a nearby magical wood, and a character that lives there called the Wolf. They offer as a sacrifice to this wolf in the wilder wood in order to get him to give back what's called the 5 kings, which are sort of like their deities. I guess hundreds of years ago, he took them captive in the wilder wood, and their whole religion revolves around him giving them back. So the story follows a second daughter named Red, and she is given to the wilder wood on her 20th birthday. She gets there and she finds out that a lot of the stuff she learned about her religion growing up was not necessarily true. The wolf that they always were told was a monster is actually a dude, a man, and that she has magic that she can control and used to do good things. So she's learning a lot about herself here in the wilder wood. And then it progresses into a plot conflict from there. Other things happen. Boy, I really don't want to talk about this book. I did like the author's writing style at the beginning. I thought it was something that could shape up to be really pretty writing. I also thought the idea of this religion was a really cool idea. And I thought we were going to be delving more into that, I guess. But what we ended up doing was spending most of our time with Red and the wolf in the wilder wood. By the time I got to maybe the back quarter of the book, I was just so done with it. I didn't want to finish it, but I was so close that I felt like I needed to finish it. I definitely think there are people who would like this story for whatever reason, and I can't really put my finger on exactly what it is. I really did not like this story. I think maybe it just felt generic, and the characters seemed underdeveloped. They felt more like prepackaged characters than really deeply explored ones. In my book, it doesn't say this, but on the Goodreads blurb, it says that fans of Uprooted and The Bear and the Nightingale would like this. It's really just not on the same level, to be honest. Uprooted and The Bear and the Nightingale, I feel like were super well built and just atmospheric, and this never quite got there. I did a little research, and I do think that this might be Hannah Whitten's first published book. I could be wrong about that, but I know she doesn't have a lot of published work. So I actually do think that I would read from her again, just not in this series. There is another book coming out, and it follows the heroine's sister. Her name is Nev, and Nev wasn't my gal. But if the author were to do something else, I really would be interested in checking that out, because I think there's a chance that I will like something from her in the future. Anyhow, I rated For the Wolf, what did I rate it? 2.5 stars. And yeah. All right. The next grown-up book that I'm going to talk to you about is The Love Hypothesis by Hazelwood. Everybody's reading this book, okay? Everybody's reading this book. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen this book appear in someone's wrap-up. Typically, most people are raving about it. There are a couple of people I've seen that just really ranted about it. I assumed that I'm just going to read you my Goodreads review just to keep things simple. 4.5 stars. Ugh. It really annoys me that I liked this book. Real talk, I went into it expecting to thoroughly hate it. I'd heard that it was based on Raylo fanfiction, so I definitely had low expectations going in, but so many people were recommending it that I had to check it out. It was funny and super entertaining. I read it in a single night. It did the miscommunication trope in a way that didn't make me want to pull my hair out. It wasn't perfect. There were definitely a few things that made me roll my eyes, but the book was just so gosh darn fun to read. I begrudgingly praise Hazelwood and admit that I will definitely be reading more of her work. There, I said it. And the last grown-up book I am going to talk to you about today is Gouda Friends by Cathy Yardley. This is the second book in Yardley's Ponto Beach Reunion series. I read the first one, Love, Comment, Subscribe, last year, and it is probably the book that got me started reading contemporary romance. I just love these books. Please don't judge me. The Ponto Beach Reunion series follows a group of friends that have been together since high school. This particular book, Gouda Friends, follows Tam Doan and Josh O'Malley, who were best friends in high school but have kind of grown apart in the intervening years. Tam lives in New York. Josh lives in Ponto Beach, California. He's like a cutting-edge restaurateur. He's got some groundbreaking stuff going on over in his neck of the woods. And Tam is working an administrative assistant job in New York. She's got a boyfriend who's kind of a butthole. And the story kicks off when she comes home from a particularly difficult day, from a job where she's not appreciated, and she finds her boyfriend in a questionable position with another woman. And Not just that, but he has thrown away her favorite gourmet cheese. Only the best kind of books are about cheese. So she calls Josh, who she hasn't spoken to in quite some time, and she says their emergency word that lets him know that she needs help. And he flies her out to Ponto Beach and lets her stay with him. Her friends convince her to take some time to find out what she really wants to do with her life. Because up until now, she's kind of just been surviving, just taking whatever job comes available first, because that's just how she was raised. And so she's kind of relearning that thought process and deciding to make some different decisions so that maybe she won't be so unhappy. I have read other series by Cathy Yardley, or tried to, and none of them just really hit the spot for me in the same way that these two. I like the way that the life stuff that surrounds the romance isn't just so superfluous that you wonder why it's even there. The way that this group of friends kind of gathered around Tam to help her discover what her passion was made this just a really hopeful story. And it was the same with the first book. There were a lot of things in the first book that I felt like made the romance and the friend group just seem way more fleshed out and just heartwarming to read. And let me tell you, I love a book that features quite a bit of food in it, and Gouda Friends does. They're always eating something yummy. That is also a thing I didn't think I was going to say today, but it's a good book. I rated this one 4 stars. Well, that's all I got for you today. I cannot remember a single thing that I have said during the duration of recording this video. So I bet editing is going to be a real hoot, because I have absolutely no idea what is going to shake out. But that is my problem. That's not your problem. If my brand of awkward appeals to you, please feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel, or follow me on social media, which I will list below. And hopefully I'm pointing in the correct directions for all of those, and until next time, tell me about a time when your life was personally affected by close-up magic. Bye.